This is the first episode in a series where we are going to clone the impossible game. And if you're not familiar, it's just you are this cube that you jump over these blocks and avoid the black pits in the middle of these blocks. And it's just a very challenging game. If you mess up, then you die. Pretty straightforward game, but a great tutorial to learn a lot of kind of core concepts from. All right, let's go ahead and get started. This episode is going to be all about making the assets. I am using Photoshop. You're more than welcome to follow along with any other image editing program, but I highly recommend getting Photoshop so you can much more easily do these things. All right, so let's go ahead and start with our cube here. If we look at our cube, it is an orange square with maybe slightly beveled edges, darker around the edges and kind of brighter in the center. You can do whatever you want to do. I'm just going to try to make it as close as I can to that. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to make it, let's do 128 by 128. All right, I've got a slight bevel. Let's see if that's too much. It is way too much. Try that again. So 128 by 128. I think maybe a good 10 pixel bevel. There we go. Looks decent, and I'm going to set my fill. I can sample the color in here. Get it started there, but I can actually go ahead and apply a gradient. We want to set this to radial. Double click here. Let's set that to the outer dark orange. And double click here. We actually want this as the outer dark orange. We want this one on the other side as the inner dark orange. Or the light orange. All right. And the outline isn't actually black. So we can select our stroke here. And then sample that. We can get it. There we go. And we have pretty close to the same cube. All right, next we need to make our obstacles. So we've got these triangles. And if we look at them, they're about the same height as about the same height and width as this block here. With a kind of a dark blue as a color on the inside. So next we'll grab our shape tool here again. And we could do a triangle tool. And we'll click. And the height and width is 128. Equilateral triangle. Hit OK. And we want to do the stroke as white. And the fill, we can do a solid color. And just kind of sample the inside of that. Okay. And there we go. We have our triangle, which does not seem to be quite as big. So we can scale that up slightly. There we go. Perfect. Now we can change our background color here so we can make that a little bit more visible. There we go. All right, so we have our cube. We have our cube and our triangle, and I think our stroke on this triangle is a little thick. Let's record that to let's say 5. There we go, that looks a lot better. So we have 2 of our assets. This triangle is actually not supposed to be completely equilateral, so we can scale it in a little bit to kind of match that one shape. There we go. Now we need this white line underneath the kind of what the everything's landing on. So what we can do, so I have another piece here already. All right, so we can drag a line across. So click here, then shift click wherever. And you'll want to do that on another layer. If you do it on the shape layer, it'll actually draw in as part of that shape layer. So create a new layer if you haven't, and then add this here. Let's get our brush and kind of determine the size here, because we're going to use this brush to actually stroke the path. I'd say 9 pixels looks about right. And we want to simulate pressure, so we need to make sure that this box here is clicked. Switch back to your pin layer, then right click, stroke path, make sure simulate pressure and brush is selected. Now we have something that looks pretty similar to that line. So right click here and say delete path. It's a little thick, so what we can do is Control T and just kind of scale it down. Oh, if I can click on it. There we go. See how that looks. I think I scaled that. Yeah. Try that again. There, and that looks pretty decent. All right, so now we have our cube, triangle, and our ground layer. All right, let's make our square obstacle next. This one the player will actually be able to land on top of. So click our shape layer over here. Make sure your rectangle selected. Click somewhere. We have 128 by 128 with no bevel. So make sure this is 0. Hit OK. We need the fill to be black and the stroke to be white. And there we've got our square obstacle. In our layers pane over here, let's go ahead and get these renamed. So we've got a rectangle 1 here, which is our player. Call this player square. Call the triangle obstacle. And this one up here, which is our square obstacle. And then this right here, which is our ground layer, or ground level. Ground sprite is what I'm going to call it. All right, let's get our buttons made. So let's start with the menu button. So it looks like a rectangle with pretty beveled edges. So we'll go ahead and leave this at 100 by 100. Let's make this 20. And then we can scale this out a little bit. I don't think 20 is enough. Try that again. Let's make this 40. That'll do. So a little bit smaller, this maybe right about there. And it looks like there is a gradient fill on that. So if we go back into our fill here and select this, looks like we've already got the linear applied. So click here, and we can always just color sample it. So it looks like we're doing the bottom first. So perfect, and then grab from the top. Higher. Right here somewhere. That looks about right. Now we need the stroke to be white. Oops. There we go. And knock that thickness down to, let's say 7. All right, so that looks about right. We can get some text in there. Right there. I don't think I have a text that actually matches that. So I'm gonna remove this really quick and redo that. I'm gonna put that text out here because it always gets a little weird on the inside there. All right, and then drag it in. All right, we can look through the text ups that we have. I don't think I have one that actually matches that, but I guess I'm kind of close. That's kind of close. Go with that. All right. And we can merge these. Right click those 2 layers, merge layers. Now we have our button here. Let's get our bottom button made here. So select your rectangle tool. Click somewhere in there. We need the width to be 500 and the height to be 250. And we want the radius to be, let's say 65. Is that okay? Scale it down a little bit from the top. Okay, around there, that'll do. Touch rectangle tool, fill, do the gradient fill. We want the bottom color to be there, and then the top color to be right here. Stroke to be white, and then let's set our pixels to be 7 for the line thickness. And that'll work. Scale this up a little bit. There we go. Now we're going to right click and rasterize this layer. Make a new layer on top here. Like this. Let's make sure that matches that, which it does, as 9 pixels. And then we're going to click here, shift and drag down. You're going to make that line that goes to the button over here. Alright, now we can merge these. Let's make this flag. So let's get a brush tool here. Let's make this black. And we'll scale up our brush to about here, I think. So I'm going with 35 pixels. We're going to make a new layer first. We're going to click, hold shift, drag up to the top. Let go of shift, click over here, hold shift again, and then it'll snap out like that. Keep holding shift, click in here, and I'll leave it at that. I think the thickness is too much though, so we're going to tone our brush down back down to like 14, or maybe let's do 21. Shift click, drag up, shift click, shift click. Alright, looks pretty decent. Let's make another layer and put it directly below it. Make this one white, and then we just gotta fill this in. And then merge those layers, and we got a flag. Name this to bottom button. Now we just need to make a quick triangle over here. So I think we can do that with our triangle tool. Let's just make a, don't really matter. So take this, flip it to the side. Scale up like this, out like that. And that looks very close. Also need to do the fill. And our stroke to be white and 7 pixels. Rename this triangle to back a flag button, because that's what it's going to do, is just basically step you back in flags. Now it's time to get these things exported. To do that, all we have to do is start with our player square, right click, and hit quick export as PNG. So that's the folder you want it to go to. I want the player square. Alright, now triangle obstacle. Quick export as PNG. And that is it. In the next episode, we'll actually import these into Unity and begin setting up our game. Thanks for watching.